What's going on, everybody? It is Joe. Welcome to the channel today. We have a lot to go over. There's so much exciting news in crypto going on right now, and it's led by the news of the SEC dropping the case against Ripple. That is massive news for the industry. That is something we have been looking forward to for a while. It has been seeming like we've been seeing sign after sign after sign that this day was coming soon, and we finally got it. So I couldn't be more excited for that. And it kind of just takes the chains off of the industry, and we're seeing that reflected in prices. We're seeing all sorts of different coins today going up in value, not just XRP, and that is something I expect to continue. And there's going to be other factors as well to look at, and we're going to go over that. As we do have a lot to go over today, we're going to be going over the next steps for Ripple and XRP, what that looks like, Garlinghouse's thoughts on that. We're going to go over Trump and how he's making some announcements either today or tomorrow. I believe most of them will be tomorrow, and we're going to touch on that. We're going to talk about rate cuts, and then we're also going to talk about what the Fed said about quantitative tightening and why I believe that is important and crucial for us. So stay tuned until the end. Hear my thoughts on all of it, and comment below, as I would love to hear your thoughts as well. Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Your support means the world to me, and it is much appreciated. So with that being said, let's dive right in. We have Bitcoin, like I was saying, up almost 5% today. Ethereum up almost 7%. XRP leading the way at 11%. Solana up 7.5%. Doge up 6%. So we're seeing all of crypto going up in the green today for the most part, except for Binance at the moment, but they've had a good week themselves. But it's led by XRP at 11% today, and that shot up almost immediately after the news, going up right around to 253, 254, I believe, dropped down to about 250, so 256 for a second. So we saw this immediate jump up right when the news happened, and we're kind of just hovering around this point right now, but I fully expect this is just setting the stage for more to come. What I've been saying all along is this, we would shoot up after this news and we would see an immediate growth. I kind of thought a little more than 11% maybe, but what this was going to do and why I was really looking forward to this is this would kickstart and open up the floodgates to all of the other big news that can happen for XRP, because now those doors are wide open. This wasn't necessarily going to be that big thing that would make the price go up to $10, but this was going to be the big thing that allowed the other things to come in and potentially move the price up to where we want to see it. I still have high hopes in the near future. I think in the next 2 to 3 months we could see that $4 to $5 mark, and I still am holding out hope by the end of the year we can get to that $8 to $10 range, and I think it's very possible, and we're going to touch on some of those reasons at the end of the video, so stay tuned. But very, very excited about XRP today. They got the news we've been waiting for. We've been in it for a long time. XRP Army, well done. So with that, here's kind of the checklist that this guy said, and he's been kind of spot on so far. We are now at phase 6 of the XRP rise to dominance. RLUSD is released. That already happened. Trump's inauguration happened. Gary officially leaving the SEC happened. XRP strategic reserve. You could argue that happened. We're going to touch on that a little bit with what Garlinghouse said today, but I still believe the stockpile asset is going to happen and XRP will be involved. Trump did mention XRP in a strategic reserve, so I do think there is something there. The Ripple case ends was the next thing he had, and then alt season starting. We're going to touch on that as well, and I do think that is still coming, so that's next for him. And then we have Ripple naming a big bank sponsor partnership. That's going to happen after alt season, and then XRP ETF approval pending, and I do believe that's going to happen this year as well, and I'm going to touch on that too. But this is this guy's checklist, and we are going right down the list, and we just checked off another one. That is super exciting to me. That was the big one. That's the one everyone's been waiting for, because that's going to lead the way for these things happening. So now with that, I'm going to play a little bit of Brad Garlinghouse's comments today. He went on the news and gave some of his thoughts on the case. I'm not going to play the full 7 minutes, but you will get parts of it. So here you go. Pay attention.
And of course, this has been a long battle. How much certainty does this provide? Is the entire case over?
So this provides a lot of certainty for Ripple, for frankly me personally, because the SEC had sued me. The SEC has abandoned their appeal. And so they filed suit in December of 2020. We won on the key parts of the case in the summer of 23. Judge Torres made a ruling that XRP in and of itself was not a security. That's almost a verbatim quote. The SEC filed an appeal about 8 months ago, and what they've now agreed is that they're going to drop that appeal. We still have a cross appeal pending, and so we go from being defendant really to plaintiff. So we now are in the driver's seat to determine how we want to proceed.
Are you dropping it?
We're going to see. It feels a lot better to be on the offense than the defense. You know, 4 years, we spent over $150 million defending that case, not just for Ripple, but for the whole industry. I think it was really important that this SEC, the Gensler SEC, was really trying to bully and continue lawfare, filing lawsuits and lawsuits and lawsuits against crypto companies. That's over now, and I think that's great for the U.S. crypto industry and frankly great for crypto at large.
So that was something I touched on in one of my videos the other day, is that it might have been Ripple that's been holding up the case. It sounded like the SEC's been ready to potentially end the case for a little bit now, but they were trying to figure out what to do with Ripple, with that lawsuit that had happened. And Ripple is supposed to pay $125 million, which it was an escrow, and there's also potentially some other little penalties involved. And Brad Garlinghouse in this, so like I talked about that the other day, that Ripple might be holding it up, and now the SEC has announced that they are dropping the case, but he is saying now Ripple's not necessarily done yet. They're still thinking about continuing it. They're in the driver's seat now. They're the plaintiff, not the defendant, essentially, at this point. And he's saying they're going to go after that $125 million penalty, and he says later on in the video, I'm not going to play the part, I don't think, that he would obviously like that $125 million back that they are holding in escrow. So he's saying Ripple's not necessarily done with the case yet. It's still ongoing, but for all intents and purposes, the SEC's pursuit of Ripple is over. He made that very, very clear, and that they're just fighting for the $125 million. And when asked about the accredited investors and what the plan was there, if they're going to pursue anything there, he was saying no, they're not worried about that. They're not going to pursue that, and that's not a big deal to him. They are just worried about that $125 million. And then he also goes on to talk about the old administration, how it was so hard to get a meeting with them, and how the new administration, well, when talking about the old administration, one of the interesting parts was he said if they had brought up like, hey, we'll drop the case like right now, but we want to keep the $125 million. He was saying if that had happened, he would have been like, okay, keep it, we want it to be done. With the new administration, he's saying it's so pro-crypto, and he has such good relationships with the people involved, that he wants to fight for that $125 million. He thinks they deserve it, and he thinks they're going to get it back. So it was interesting to hear him talk about it like that. Like, he has that much confidence in the new administration. He has that good of a relationship with them, where he's like, hey, I would have been willing to just forego that $125 million to end the case, to get it over with, to move on. But now I want that full clarity that we did nothing wrong. I want that money back. And then he also goes on to talk about how with this administration, they welcome him into the White House almost whenever he wants, whereas he almost had to, it was like pulling teeth to get into the old administration's White House. So found that interesting. So that was kind of what he talked about in the middle portion. And I'm going to skip ahead here to the end of this video. So take a listen to this.
Now it's widely accepted that this is a pro-crypto administration, but the details, that is what's causing an overhang, the uncertainty of the details. So to the extent you have confidence, right, about XRP being in that stockpile, or otherwise getting more support for an ETF, for example.
So that's one of the big things I've been talking about too, is why we haven't seen these big price increases, is we haven't gotten those details. We've heard a lot of rumors about this and that, but the details are so important for that big price movement that we're all waiting for. So her asking this question is exactly what I've been wanting to hear, exactly what I've been wanting to ask, and exactly why I've been saying we aren't seeing those price increases. So hearing Brad's response here was exactly what I've been waiting for. So here it is.
Example, where does that confidence come from, and what kind of timeline do you see it happening on?
So I have immense confidence on the ETF. I think there's 11 different filings pending with the SEC to launch ETFs, from everybody from Bitwise to Franklin Templeton and a whole bunch of people in between. I think those will be live in the second half of this year. We have seen, even outside the United States, you have live ETPs. And at a time when a lot of outflows are exiting some of the crypto ETFs, you're seeing inflows into XRP. And I think that's because you had this false negative pressure from the SEC, this kind of, an exogenous hand holding things down that's now being released. And that's great for the market. That's great for builders within the XRP ecosystem globally.
One more on the stockpile.
Yeah.
How much XRP would be in it? Where does it come from?
Well, my understanding of what I read about I think there are some questions, and that the devil may be in the details as Treasury implements some of this.
Absolutely in the details.
But my understanding is that the stockpile will be represented by seized other cryptos other than Bitcoin that then will be in that stockpile. So to the extent that various law enforcement agencies have seized cryptos, which would include XRP, that those would go into the stockpile in addition to the Bitcoin strategic reserve. That's my understanding.
So there you have it. He is very confident that both of those things are going to happen, that the strategic stockpile is going to happen, that the ETFs are going to happen by the end of this year, in the second half of this year, he said. So that's very bullish in my mind, that you have him saying, hey, I'm very confident that the ETFs are coming. I am very confident that that stockpile is coming and that XRP will be involved. So to hear him address those bigger things and not just the rumors and put a timeline to it is very encouraging. And we can kind of get a sense of when that's going to happen now, instead of always wondering. I guess we'll still always wonder. It could happen a lot sooner. But when you have the CEO of Ripple guessing that it's going to be the second half of this year, I think I'm going to listen and set my expectations a little lower for the time being, not to expect those things to happen anytime soon, but that those things will come eventually, and just check a couple more things off of XRP's list. And being in that stockpile, getting that ETF approval will both be massive for XRP. So wanted to share that with you guys. And then breaking, we have President Donald Trump will address the Digital Asset Summit tomorrow. This is the first time a sitting president has addressed a crypto conference. That is big news. Then we have Eleanor Terrett, who's been spot on in a lot of her news reporting on crypto, reporting this today. I'm told a big announcement regarding real Donald Trump's plans for next steps in crypto policy is coming imminently out of the Blockworks summit. So big news coming tomorrow. And then she goes on to say, got some clarity on this. Multiple sources on the ground at the conference tell me President Trump was planning to live stream into the conference at some point today or tomorrow to address the crowd. So early in the video I said today or tomorrow. After reading this, I do believe it will be tomorrow now, and I'll show you that in a second. I'm told this may yet happen, but also could be done via a taped recording. As always with the president's schedule, timing and planning seem to always be very much in flux with events such as these. Stay tuned. And then we have it right here, confirmed by Blockworks, that Donald Trump will indeed be addressing the crowd tomorrow via a recording. I'm told 10:40 a.m. Eastern Time is the planned time as of now. So there you have it. We're going to hear Donald Trump's comments about crypto tomorrow at 10:40 a.m. Eastern Time. So stay tuned for that, because that could certainly affect the prices depending on what he says. And if what she said is true about there being a big announcement, that could pay big dividends. So pay attention, be listening in, stay tuned. If there is big news, I will certainly bring you guys that news. So that is certainly something I will be paying attention to. Then today we had an announcement from the FOMC about rate cuts. They went unchanged as expected. It is still possible that they will happen later on this year, but for now, there was no rate cuts, and that was expected for this time. No surprises here. Markets were already expecting this. So there you have it. That was an announcement we were waiting for today from Jerome Powell. And then with this, we have Fed FOMC breaking. The Fed has announced to slow down its balance sheet reduction. Starting April 1st, the Fed will reduce the monthly redemption cap on Treasury securities from $25 billion to $5 billion. I think before the next FOMC meeting in May, the Fed will most likely stop the quantitative tightening. That is big. That if they do, they're slowing it down from 25 to 5 billion, Will they maybe just say, hey, we're going to go from 5 billion to 0, or hey, maybe we're going to go into easing? That's certainly a possibility, but going from 25 billion to 5 billion is a huge first step and very, very encouraging. And he goes on to say, fun fact, every alt season has happened when there's no QT ongoing. QT being quantitative tightening, and so once we see that happen, is that going to be what triggers alt season? Could that happen in May? I don't know, but I'm going to be listening in closely to this because that is typically one of the triggers that you can look for that begins a big bull run in crypto. So hearing the news about rate cuts today, unexpected, still encouraging overall. Hearing this news, still encouraging overall. Hearing Trump talk about crypto tomorrow and addressing it, very, very bullish. The SEC dropping their appeal, very, very bullish. So lots of big news in crypto today that leaves me very excited. I would love to hear your thoughts. So if you wouldn't mind, comment below. I'd love to interact with you guys. Hit that like button if you like the content today. Hit that subscribe button if you're looking to hear more. I would greatly appreciate it. And until then, I will see you next time. Thank you so much.